Trust. My name's Dan Rook. I'm the Disability Officer for the Community Trust. Today I am being joined by Jonathan Coles from the Berkshire and Berkshire FA and Lauren from the FA. If I start with you, Lauren, can you just tell us about more about you and your role within disability football within the FA, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the para football talent identification lead at the FA, but I'm also the assistant coach for the England Deaf Women's squad. So in terms of my talent ID role, I oversee the talent day programs, the talent hubs, and then also support players feeding into the regional and national emerging talent program. Brilliant.
And John?
I'm a football development officer with Berkshire and Berkshire FA. I've been with Berkshire and Berkshire since 2016, and one of the areas that I lead on is disability football. So that's increasing participation for pan disability teams, but also the talent aspect and help promoting the talent network in Berkshire and Buckinghamshire.
Brilliant. So first thing for me is kind of to get some information off you guys is Lauren, if you could possibly lead on this, is like, what is para football for someone that hasn't come across it before? How would you best explain it?
Yeah, so the reason we use the terminology para football is not to take away from an individual's disability. So it is for players with impairments. But what we have found is a lot of the players that are progressing into many of our international teams, whether that's the Cerebral Palsy squad, the partially sighted squad, are actually playing mainstream football. So the term we've said para, it comes from the Greek predisposition as to parallel or alongside football. So we've tried to word it in a way where it shows that dual pathway. Because of the offer that we have, players will be playing in other environments as well, whether that is impairment specific, pan disability or mainstream. So our pathway runs alongside that to give them another opportunity to participate at that highest level.
Oh, brilliant. So in terms of, I know at the moment we're going through a lockdown and COVID, so it's a little bit different. But again, for those who don't know, what does disability football look like nationally in terms of what do the FA offer in terms of England squads for those impairments?
Yeah, so at present, we have a deaf men's squad, a deaf women's squad. We've got the blind team, the cerebral palsy team, the partially sighted team, and the Powerchair team, who are current European champions, I may add. So they're pretty good. We are looking to expand our provision, particularly around the kind of female element. So hopefully in the next couple of years to come, we'll be looking at exploring the blind female pathway, but also the cerebral palsy female pathway too.
Oh, brilliant. So in terms of that then, John, leading from what the FA looks like nationally for what they offer, what is around locally for people with disabilities and kind of how do you contribute to that player pathway as such?
Yes, so in Berkshire and Buckinghamshire, disability football is very active. We have 75 affiliated teams, and our largest competitive pathway is our county-wide disability league, which is called the Bobby League. So we hold central venue fixtures each year, and that's really the bottom of our pyramid, what we call pan disability, which will incorporate lots of different disabilities within one team. Now, what's quite exciting in this region is we are looking to do more and more impairment specific provision. So coming this summer, which hopefully a lot of people will get to know, is that we're starting blind football for the first time in Berkshire. It's a provision we've never had. Reading FC, as you will know, Dan, are very active within deaf football. And in Milton Keynes with MK Dons, they have power football, as do Reading FC, deaf football as well, and more CP football sessions within the region. So we're gradually building on our really active base of pan disability football teams with impairment specific teams as well.
Right, okay. And in terms of kind of the base that you have then, Jonathan, with your teams? Is that kind of more volunteer led in terms of grassroots teams can get involved, and that opportunity for them to kind of get involved if they don't have a inclusive team?
So the makeup of most of our affiliated teams are your grassroots teams. So they have mainstream teams, but they also have inclusive teams running alongside them. So that's the majority of our teams, and they're open for anyone. I myself run a team out of Abingdon called St Edmunds, and we are open anyone. And the way I phrase it is, if you cannot play mainstream football for whatever reason, come play in a Bobby League team. So and that's where the majority of my players come from. So I have lots of players with autism. I have some players with CP. I have an amputee player. So it's a real mix within the team, but we run like any other football team. We train every week. We play competitive matches. And yeah, our league is just the Bobby League.
Brilliant. So coming back to you, Lauren, I know you touched on it before, kind of the disabilities that you have, or disability teams that you have within the FA. Is there a specific impairment that you're more on the lookout for than others, or is it kind of all level across the board, like CP and vision?
I think across the board we're consistently looking for players to kind of come in, players that have got potential. I think if there's a particular area of growth that we're looking at, it's around the visual impairment and blind pathway. Thankfully, kind of medical support that's available at a younger age is far more advanced in our country than it is in some other countries, which potentially means that the pool of players that we have to choose from is a little bit smaller. So the more awareness we can raise around the pathway, and the more we can get players playing at a young age, but also understanding what the pathway looks like and the opportunities, the better for us.
Brilliant. So taking it kind of back down to where I sit at club level, a question for you both really. What can people like myself, disability officers, people that work on Primary Stars, help to support this programme? If I go to Lauren first and then John second. Brilliant.
I mean, you're obviously aware that we're running a workshop in partnership with the EFL Trust next week. We are running these workshops throughout the country virtually at the moment. I've probably got 4 or 5 a week happening. So what we do within this workshop is look at the pathway. We also look at the potential eligibility criteria, what potential looks like versus what talent is, but then also how individuals like yourself that are working in school environments refer players, and how players can get involved and potentially progress up the pathway. But also when we're looking at players, there's also a coaching pathway that's available there. I mean, I started out with the talent hub at Derby and gradually built my way up as a coach, and now I'm obviously coaching one of the senior squads. So there's opportunities available for players and coaches alike. So it's really about kind of delving into the depth of what it is and finding out more information.
Brilliant. And John, sort of like our work that we do at Reading, obviously we're fully aware of each other. We've worked with each other for a number of years, but like, how can we help, and our schools network help you, specifically like teachers, if you like, kind of have that signpost into that inclusive?
Absolutely. Yeah, so touch on what Lauren says as well, it's about education and knowing what to do. So attending the workshops is great, because then you'll know what to do. So for example, if a teacher had a player that was talented, where do they go first? So they can come to myself, and I could potentially get them into a pan disability team. They may be good enough to play mainstream football. It's about knowing where to refer players to, and that goes for coaches of mainstream teams. So attending the workshop will help you with the tools to know, do you know what, this player's got talent, and he does have or she does have a disability. What do I do now? And it will guide you in that way. So that's really what would help me the most, is identifying these players that we might not see from day to day. They're not maybe playing football for whatever reason, or they're playing mainstream football. It's sometimes really hard to to find players with disabilities who are playing mainstream football. They themselves might not know about the talent network that is out there. So by educating more teachers, by educating more coaches about what to look out for and what to do when they spot a player with talent, that will be fantastic.
Brilliant. And not to kind of put you on the spot here, Lauren, I'm sorry that I'm kind of doing this, but in terms of to steal a phrase from Boris Johnson, the roadmap for the FA, kind of what that looks like for disability football, is there any kind of talk about England talent days coming up and running within the kind of next 6-12 months? Is there kind of, because I know that before COVID, myself and John were planning one, and at the Majeski, and of course, obviously everything's gone online. But with everything starting up again, it's kind of that. What does that roadmap for disability football look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really putting me on the spot at all. I think I've already started to have conversations with county FAs, and obviously Jonathan in Berks and Bucks in terms of the county. We've got officers based all over the country doing the same role. So at the moment, we're looking at the localised level in terms of what priorities are in terms of those emerging priorities. For me, I'm hoping that every county FA that I work with will be looking to put on an England Talent Day. We are looking at doing some centrally from an FA perspective with a particular focus in certain areas. We're also broadening our club links in terms of CCO organisations like Reading. We're broadening those direct links with clubs to be able to deliver broader kind of levels of programmes. From a national squad perspective, our camps are due to go back in May, touch wood and all being well. So fingers crossed. I'm dying to get out on the grass and actually do some coaching. So yeah, it's really looking positive. From a talent hub perspective, we're now looking at return to play April, May time. So I think from a para football point of view, the roadmap's looking bright, and that's kind of I'm happy to be in my shoes than I am to be in Boris's shoes. So our roadmap looks slightly clearer.
Brilliant. So last thing kind of from me is, given that scenario that this goes out to somebody, this chat that we're having, that has a young person in their school that has cerebral palsy or one of the impairments that you're looking for, but isn't entirely sure whether they should be playing football or stuff like that, what advice would you give them in terms of kind of how you're going to push them, how you're going to progress them? So if I go to Jonathan first, just to kind of make it different, and I'll come to Lauren.
Yeah, sure. I'll touch base really about locally. I think if you are unsure, if you have a player that has talent or is interested in football, I'm here to help. That's my role. I'm a lead for disability football in Berkshire and Buckinghamshire. So you can give me a call, you can give me an email, and I will guide you as best I can. There are loads of disability football teams out there. I guarantee you there is one that is geographically close. I'd go try it out. If they turn out to be gifted, that's where we could potentially link you up with Lauren. So I'm going to seamlessly just transfer now to Lauren for you.
That's smooth. No, absolutely. I think the key thing for us is that a player is playing in an environment where they're enjoying football, whether that is in a disability specific environment or whether that is playing mainstream football. And I think I can come from this from a two-pronged approach, is that there may be players or individuals who are aware of players that potentially are eligible for the pathway, who are already playing football in an environment but didn't know about this alternate pathway that's available in addition to what they're currently accessing. So I think from our point of view, we've got a broader workforce. So I'm really thankful that it's not just me at the FA kind of leading on this. Whilst it's a huge element of my role, there's the talent team who kind of bring together all of the aspects of this pathway. But then also on a more localised level, we've got a number of really, really great talent consultants that work on a regional and county basis. So it's highly likely that if there is a player who is flagged up to us, whether it's through Jonathan or whether it's directly to myself, we can get a talent scout out to have a look at that player, make sure that everything's correct in terms of eligibility, so we're not selling any false promises, and then we can start to find the right pathway for that individual.
Fantastic. Before I let you go, is there anything that you'd both like to add or say before we kind of end the chat?
Yeah, I'd say just a couple of local examples. In recent years, since I've been in post, we've had 2 players that have gone very high within the England talent pathway. So female deaf players, one through our England Talent Day, I think 2 years ago, is now within the certainly the under-21 setup, and the player didn't even know about the talent pathway. Playing mainstream football, had no knowledge of what could be running alongside what she was doing, is now representing England. And one of the other players just referred from a grassroots coach, said, we have this player, didn't really know they had a hearing impairment, and once they did, got in touch, and then again, the player has gone on to bigger and better things. So I think that's useful. Yeah, there is this pathway. People just need to know about it, and the education piece is massive.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right.
Absolutely. I think it's just knowing your players, knowing your participants, and knowing your students. And if you think somebody may be eligible, it's better to ask the question rather than to kind of err on the side of caution and not do something about it, because effectively, and it sounds very cliche when I say it, but you could be responsible for finding a future England captain. And having been sat in the shoes of somebody who delivered that localised offer, I've now seen players that have gone through the whole of the pathway and broken into one of those senior squads. Similar to Jonathan's story there, it really does happen, and the potential to change somebody's life is real. And I think we've kind of seen that on a case-by-case basis, that actually the impact that even just participating in football from a fun perspective can have on an individual with a disability. I've got a young lad who is now a football coach, not necessarily directly involved in the talent pathway all the time, but has been involved in one of the under-21 squads with the CP set up. But he would say, and he's been on a workshop before, that if it hadn't been for football, he potentially could have still been in a physical state where he'd require more extensive support than he potentially does now, because of the kind of level of training that he was able to get and the accessibility. But as a young child, he was excluded from PE. He was left out from the kind of ability to play football with his mates. He was actually a wheelchair user for a significant period of time. If you'd have told him that in 2018, I believe it was, that he'd win a gold medal with the under-21s, he would have not believed that. So I think the potential opportunities that are available are outstanding. Fantastic.
With that being said, I'll leave it there, because that finishes it up really nicely. I thank you both for your time, and what we'll do is we'll advertise your courses that are coming up within the next couple of weeks. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
No problem. Thank you.